Hello and welcome back to Season 3 of The Verdict, Episode 1. I am joined, as usual, by my good friend Schalk Burger, who had the time of his life at the game on Saturday. The Boks are back to winning ways, beating the Barbarians quite convincingly. A good showing by the Bok team, and we're into the Test season now. We are joined also, we have left out one of our front rowers, Anyani Shimangi, who speaks a big game, and we decided to bring in a front rower that walks the talk. Two-time World Cup winner, Frans Malherbe. He even has his name on a Coca-Cola can. Frans, welcome.
Thanks, John. Scala, lekker to be here.
Rana, lovely. Normally, it's not just clean Coke, though. There's an additive that goes with it. I've just assumed.
Why it's still closed.
No. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You've got your name.
That's awesome, eh?
Yeah.
Feel very,
is
very
that
cool.
when you know you've made it, John? Look, we haven't got that.
A special edition, eh?
No.
Special edition from the
I
Springboks.
think, Schalk, you're lying. There must be some through the years that you have a Scala and a John on.
I'm not too sure. Listen, John, talking about the weekend, how was my gig? I was in the beer tent interviewing fans. That was my entire Saturday.
I'm still jealous.
I hope I did a good job, because I wouldn't mind doing that forever.
No, so that's why I'm seeing the opportunity, okay? Because you're not booked for the next 3 weeks.
I know.
I am gunning so hard for that gig.
I know.
To see what
about if both of us just do a little walk around?
I mean, it can be a thing.
Okay.
You know, it can become a thing. So I'm excited. I'm hoping I get the job. Yeah, I might be disappointed after the weekend. Not disappointed in the Boks performance, though. Really good performance. Before we get to that, Frans, it's so lucky to have you. We would have preferred seeing you on the pitch on the weekend. Where you at? We heard Dobbo speaking about, just giving a little bit of an update, seeing you still quite some way off. Can you share anything? You were telling me about the intense training that you will be having after this recording. You're going for Pilates, right?
That's correct, John. So
As front rows do.
A short version, so we're going to take the conservative route, leave it until it settles, and then, we will be guided by symptoms, maybe a small procedure later, but for now, hopefully nothing, and hopefully full recovery without a procedure.
And it's your back, lower back.
Lower back.
And conservatively speaking, we're looking at no rugby this year. We expect you back
Probably only next year.
next year.
There's not a confirmed timeline on that, but probably only end of the year.
Okay,
next year.
and then secondly, can we please send one of this camera crew with to see you do Pilates? Are you on the reformer yet or not?
Not yet, please. Let me get comfortable.
I think that'll be fantastic content.
Yeah, I think it's done. Yeah.
Maybe we should.
No, it's very similar to Don's scrum work, so I think it won't be that bad.
Kamp Daandraad.
I missed that.
Are you putting your hand up for one of those in the near future?
Scala, probably when I come back to full fitness, I'll probably have to do that. I haven't done it. I don't know if I'm lucky that I haven't been there, or fortunate, but it looks tough. It looks cool as well. So let's see.
Now, guys, we're going to get into the scrums and do some analysis on that. We're going to look at the tries today as well. We're going to unpack the Boks game. Big day for us, Anathi Tlabakanye.
Yeah.
Okay, making his debut.
Only second Saints
player ever
to play a game for the Boks.
Not a test match yet.
No, Lance Sherrill was the other.
We'll get there. Let's talk about your debut for South Africa, Frans. Can you remember that day? And would you like to talk about the fantastic performance of your captain on the day?
John was a captain, 10 November 2013.
There we go, against Wales.
First game of end of year tour 2013. Was privileged to start my debut. And as we know how tough Wales was at that time, got the win, which was awesome, set the tone for the rest of the tour. There were some awesome guys in that team.
I mean, you played against Gethin Jenkins, one of the greats of Welsh rugby. I mean, how difficult was that? I mean, he's a Centurion as well.
Yeah.
You know, going up against them first test match.
Actually, interesting. That was his 99th game for the Welsh team and my first. So afterwards, he came and gave his jersey to me. It was quite cool.
How cool is that?
That
That's
pair
incredible.
of the 1 and the 99. Awesome rugby player, and it was obviously a tough day. I still remember. It was quite tough in the scrums. The scrum fell quite a lot. And I can't remember who was the ref. I think Nigel Owens. And he said the next scrum that falls, you both are going to the bin. And I think Heineke or someone heard that and they put the bench on. As I sat down, Kuni came off with the card. He just went on, came off.
He had to go back on.
Because I think myself and Jenkins irritated Nigel so much.
That the next lot got straight yellows.
So yeah, and we got to win them on that day. You know, guys like Fourie de Pre played, Jacques Fourie, yourself, Skal. I don't think you were.
I wasn't there. I was
day,
still on my sabbatical back then.
which was obviously awesome. It's an awesome memory. I got injured the next game and flew back, but yeah, that was a.
Is that the
awesome
game where there
memory.
was the little 1-2 between Jacques Fourie and
Yes,
And
exactly.
Fourie de
Fourie de
Pre,
Pre with a little
yeah.
kick through and
Exactly.
then
So we
goal
actually
float.
scored 2 very nice tries. That one from Jacques, from Fourie.
Fourie, yeah.
And then I also scored the try where Brian did the break from our own 22.
Yes.
It gave to
Bismarck,
Bismarck and then
Bis-
to
yeah, and then
Bismarck
Yeah.
took some names. They handled a few.
Yeah, so that was
Awesome
actually a
time.
very, very cool. And I don't know if you remember, the following day, we went to the Manchester United game. The whole team took the bus, Old
Against
Trafford, sat in
Arsenal.
the box against Arsenal.
I heard about the
awesome.
bus ride.
That was pretty. We won't get into that today. Now, talking about making your debuts. Have a look at this one. Azanati Tlabakanye making his debut for South Africa, and I want you to focus here. So,
Oi.
we can't see.
Is it wrong of me thinking that ever watch Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
You know, when the main character Po does like a Kung Fu Panda roll. That's exactly it. Look at him.
What happened there?
Boom.
Actually, zoom in on Lloyd and John Klein's faces to see their
Yeah.
action.
So apparently those guys they were thinking, yes, he broke his
His
ankle or
legs,
something.
yeah.
You know, you motivated
my
for the
word.
game. Slip.
I missed that.
Is that what he learned at Camp Staldon?
On your debut, eh? That must have been a.
I mean, I've played in Japan, and often in Japan you run out and then
And they make the roll.
they do like a ninja roll just to, you know,
in
get
the
ready,
mood.
get ready for it. But like that was definitely not planned.
What people might not know is that we are actually arch enemies as well. Okay, Paul Gymnasium versus Paul Boys. We've
Boys.
got a big game coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Have you been following the schoolboy rugby at all? Schoolboy rugby in South Africa is just
It's
blown up.
crazy. It's massive. I have been following it a bit, and yeah, what a clash it's going to be. Start August, the first weekend in August.
Yeah, number 1 and number 2 in the country playing against each other. I think maybe we should have a bit of a build up to that, do a show in Paul.
Very
The
lucky.
build up to. Okay, I'm going to take you up on
But
that.
John, you know a good venue there. We
we
did it last year.
We did it last year. We might just get to we might just get to Henny's again next this time around. Get a bit of gears going
Awesome.
and just just
Yes,
see
how,
Feel
how
the-
good have the Paul schools been this year? It's been incredible. eh?
Paul vibe.
some of those. Some of those players are just incredible. The captain of Paul Gym, Marcus Miller.
Yeah.
He phenomenal rugby player, and I've got
Did
to
I
know him a
read-
little bit
did-
as well.
yeah,
He's
did-
such a good kid.
Did I
He's-
read correctly? They scored 40 tries and over 40
No.
try assists or 45 tries
no,
or
he
whatever.
scored more than 50 tries for the first team
My word.
already.
I saw a stat where his stats of last year they compared to this year,
Yeah,
and he got to match that like in what is
9 games.
nine? Yeah, and like 12 or 15 games less than the previous year.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Looks like
That's
an
phenomenal.
amazing talent.
But just a great
they've
team
been,
as
They've been
well.
scoring 80 points almost every other weekend, which is insane.
And Paul Boy is just as impressive. So that's going to be a lacquer one. We're going to do that live show. We'll set up,
That's- Sounds good.
make some tickets available, and then see what
I
happens.
think the last time it was Interschools was 1 and 2. was when Andre played. 2012.
2012,
Can that be, eh?
probably.
Also,
Yep.
Interschools was number 1 and number 2. I was actually there that day. Andre, there was some big names on that field that day.
Yeah.
But awesome memory.
What was the result that day?
Ish, I knew you were gonna go there.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
move
go
on.
into something that you enjoy way more than that result, and that is the scrums. Now, Frans, take us. We've got a couple of scrums here with 1 or 2 phases played after that as well. Talk us through kind of the psyche of a prop, especially maybe a Asanati going into a first game against such an experienced guy in Cian Healy. The thinking and just how you see these ones kind of play out.
John, yeah, I think Springbok pack perspective, you find a lot of confidence, especially, Asanati in his first game. I think you'll find a lot of confidence going down next to Malcolm Ox.
Yeah.
I think John Klein is behind him. The work I wasn't there, but I can promise you the work they put in the weeks was tough. And I think that's where he would have got his confidence.
Is it just getting that first hit? Is the hit kind of what you focus on, or what would have been the
definitely.
focus
I think
there?
for me, cohesion and togetherness, and then a hit. You can't. It's very tough to recover after you lost the hit. I think that was the third scrum. The first one we got a penalty. We were quite dominant, and the second one was very similar place on the field where it was very stable. That one, they came a little bit back at us, but I think pretty impressive performance for the first time.
Yeah.
For the season.
Frans, you scrum on this field a hell of a lot, and it was a wet week. Is there anything you do differently to keep your feet when it's this wet?
Scala, so I think the field actually held up very nicely.
Very
on
nice,
Saturday.
yeah.
It looked like
Considering the amount of water that
outside and how it is done in the past.
Yeah.
Scala, I like to keep my feet planted whenever there's a very wet or bad surface, because if you move your feet, and you miss the next step,
I was about to
grip,
say, you're not guaranteed the
done.
next step.
So
you kind of want that forward movement before you move your feet as well. This one. So when something like that, is that just, we can't see the angle on the outside because it was basically Cian Healy and his side. We'll see the retake.
Someone went down, actually recovered well to come back up.
There we go.
Everyone thinks props love scrumming and they love this. I hated a reset like that.
Yeah.
It just takes energy away. Luckily for both, but I don't think all props like resets as well.
And in that scenario where we see the elbow on the ground, is that a frustrating thing for you as a prop as well? Because you kind of putting the pressure, his elbow's going down, and then the referee just resets.
Yeah, 100%. If there's a clear reason for why it went down and there's no call on it, there we go. Well, that's also fine. The next one, it happened again, and then it's straight on penalty. That's fine.
So obviously you do analysis on the lucid if you're on the tight head, but also referees. Is there certain referees that set you up differently or has different triggers to help him?
Yeah, definitely, Scala. I think you have to have a look at how the referee, handles it on the day. And normally refs won't change it on the day.
Yeah.
They have a certain system. You have a chat to them before the game in the locker room, and just to if there's something they do differently. Normally refs are very similar, but there's here and there one that look for different triggers. I think Asanati did quite well there.
You can always see Oxlack waiting for Tlabekane to get the better of. And regarding space, I know that's the big thing in the hit. Often you play against teams who almost want to take the hit away, and it's like a pre-engage. What's your preference, or what's your work-ons to try and create that space?
Like on the previous topic, you have to tell the ref beforehand, they're going to close the space. We need a gap. It's obviously safer if there's a gap, then there's a clear target where you can put your head. And yeah, I personally like a gap. I think, there's a bit of space to travel, to generate a bit of energy or whatever for the hit. Certain packs like to be in close, especially if they scrum against a team with a big hit, to take that away, to nullify that. Some packs like to scrum from a static position, the start, not this hit,
Okay.
to regather your feet. They like to be in tight underneath you and then just scrum from there.
Is that a strength thing? Is that literally just being able to go as static as possible, get the stability, then it's even power, and then you just know you're stronger than the opposition, and then it's just pure power.
Yeah, I think, John, it's whatever works for you. You have to be all aligned in that system.
Yeah.
If one guy is not bought into that and he wants to find his feet a bit later, you're going to lose the power of the unit. But yeah, as I said, I think I like to, because if you get a proper hit, you can actually, that's the first punch you throw to break shape.
Yep.
If you can't keep your shape, if you're a team that want to scrum in contact and you don't focus on a big hit, imagine this, you get hit out of shape, then there's no recovery.
No recovery. Okay.
But yeah, it's.
And when you say shape, again, I've never been in a scrum.
Well,
Thank goodness.
we'll speak about it later. Andre is the nose of our scrums.
And
now,
actually, there's actually one where
I think that was his first one. Yeah.
this was his first scrum, first time playing on the flank ever in his life in a game against the Barbarians. So he's on the blind there, because that's a big part as well. The loose forwards, your back five doing their bit as well, right? So that one popping up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I think Netling did quite well there to stay out and didn't run in.
Yeah.
Could see there his left shoulder quite nice and proud, coming out, popping up. Anyway.
How do you counter? When do you go for that gap? So if you've got a loose head who swings out or scrums on an angle, you want to obviously hit him square. When do you actually run for that hole? When does that hole come open for you, Francis?
Scala, so there's two. I think one positive one, one negative one. There's one when you're getting dominated. There's no other way.
Yes.
You're going there. Or when a guy, the loose head is just so much on that angle, his hooker goes with his tight head and it just opens up.
There's a big hole for you to go naturally.
So then you go. It's obviously much better to go straight into that gap, because then you can actually generate forward movement for the whole pack. If you run towards the side,
you
no
get
dominant
that crabbing,
picture.
you go to your loose head.
I think that's one of the big things for scrumming is it's like a cliche, but paint a good picture for the ref. So the ref don't know what's going on inside. He only stands next to it, having a look. They're looking for key things. If you paint a good dominant picture,
then you can get the call.
Yeah.
And is there a lot of playing around? Well, I hear a lot about taking the hit and then not taking the hit, and is that on the go all
There's
the
a
time?
lot of, especially before contact.
Okay.
Like hookers playing around, loose heads tucking their shoulder into the hooker to get underneath the tight head. Then there's not a proper gap between the loose head and the hooker's head for the tight head's head. The RGs like to put the hooker, you have to be left and left of the mark the ref gives. They put the switches their foot.
To try and make it like that on it.
So the other foot is left of the mark. And tricks like that, we don't really have a lot of that. I think we concentrate on, our connection and the power we generate. I think if you don't have that, you can have tricks. It might bite you.
Well, there's a lot of power in the scrummaging that we see from the box. Toughest opponent you ever went up against? Before we go into a break.
It's a tough thing to take out the individual, but I think we spoke earlier. You guys also played against him. I think you played with him, the Argentine
Marcos Ayerza.
Marcos Ayerza. He took some few names in his time. Luckily, I only scrummed against him coming off the bench, so I was quite fresh and he was already tired. But that was one tough loose head.
Lekker. Let's take a quick break. You've heard about the scrums. We'll be going through the tries, some of the brilliance that the box showed, and also some of the individuals that really stood out with ball in hand.
Cody from Paul has sold multiple vehicles to We Buy Cars. Suspicious? I think so.
Is that a crime?
No. Where are you getting the cars?
I buy them and I sell them at the spot like a normal person.
Okay.
No, man, I'm just an accounting student. I know a good deal when I see one.
That's Excel meant. What's more stressful, tax season or selling a car at We Buy Cars?
Tax season, obviously.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Okay, we've covered the scrums. Very exciting, the scrums. You know, I always loved watching it there from the outside. Very glad that I'm not Andre Estes, who now finds myself inside of the scrum. But guys, some amazing, taking into account the weather, taking into account the opposition, the changes that we've seen within the squad, some amazing tries scored by the box, but they immediately went to the old steady. The Maul.
The Maul was good, especially in the beginning. And there's a few differences, I think, from last season. The one is, depending where the lineout is, we almost put an extra number in the front. So you've got your front lifter, and then we send someone across to go in the front. So overpower whoever's in the front of the lineout.
The front side.
Enforce the front side. If the back ball, we do the same on the back. But then also, I think there's a greater punch.
Yeah.
A less emphasis on setting it up.
And just going.
And then going. It's almost like we give ourselves like 1.5 meters to really get that more going. And this is, you know, this is straight off the training ground. You know, like you want to have that thing move forward. Also with referees nowadays, often they'll go use it once and then you pretty much hand-tied by playing it, because if they use it, the second use it call comes, you know, the turnover is more likely to happen.
Sculler, we'll talk more about the scrums now when we get the replay. The ball, a lot has been said, and especially this first kick from Sasha. So it's a new ball, the Rhino ball, and you see it's almost as if you don't strike it sweetly on that sweet spot immediately, it doesn't float that nicely. But back to the and that's what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Double bank, or not double banking, but reinforcing.
Getting John Klein on the front. Yeah, we can't use the word double banking, but like he sort of sits in behind the front supporter and he reinforces that, and that's where you try and overpower, get more numbers round the front against. They're obviously short on the front, stopping that more. But yes, the ball. Anyone who's ever played with a Summit ball, and this is a generation ago, is before you, France. Like it's a different shape, I think. First of all, the dimples on it is not as frequent, but it's a harder feeling ball.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's got less weight. Ironically, Mani hit it dead straight.
Yeah.
Sasha, after the first kick, started hitting it solid, but it's almost like with old Gilbert, Mani could move it both ways, but like off first acquaintance with a new ball, it flew pretty straight.
That's what Tony Brown also said, is that if you hit that sweet spot, it goes nice and straight. It's like you put it in line and kind of it goes there, right? Did I understand him correctly?
Yeah, I think that's what he told us. The players said like the ball was quite slippy. And obviously this is a first test match, there's horrible conditions. You know, often a night game in Cape Town when it's rained the whole week, even if it doesn't rain on the day, it's got that, like it's almost like a snotty layer on the ball and on every touch point. So you saw a lot of balls getting lost in contact. Damon de Allende in the 22, Sasha after the crazy 360 dummy, Kirtley a couple of times after line breaks.
Then the second try we saw from that man, Cheslin Colby, unbelievable game, and we'll see so many of his highlights. It starts with the scrum, right, France?
100%.
You know, again there we saw a lot of play off 9.
Wingers in the vacuum.
Kirtley in the vacuum, and then just overpowering off 9.
Oh, nice is it to see Lood back for the box.
You guys are
Jean-Luc the same.
You guys are tag teaming here. I mean, like if Lood's not available for the verdict, you are. I love the fact that they're defending 14 men in the front line, and we don't overplay our hand. Jesse Creel takes it in. We saw actually off the back of the first try as well. Fussy that time off the left arm. Here we go. Fussy off the right foot. And Cheslin is a superstar. We see this coming up later. Heads up rugby. Damon de Allende with a grubber through for Kirtley's try later.
And what I like about it, Frans, and again, you're not being a backline player, but the forwards need to be in sync as well. But we see the back three there totally in sync. When Fassi got the ball, obviously it was a pre-call. We see Damien running a line there as well. Fassi with a kick. Cheslin immediately on his bike. He's not hesitating whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then it's just all, kind of not just there, but you look at Damien Delende over there coming in as a supporter. Fans happy as can be, as we would expect. But
that's after they saw me walking in there. That wasn't for the try. That was pre-recorded. But what I love about it is obviously we want it to be direct, conditions depending. But then you get Jesse Creel stepping up, relieving the pressure of the pack of forwards. So often you can go one-dimensional, one pass ruck, overwork the forwards. But you've got Damien de Allende who can relieve that. In the second half, we had Andre Esterhuizen who can step up as a flanker, take that role off the pack of forwards. But great options. Great kick execution off the right. His weaker foot. Fassi.
Yeah. The debutant then, Vincent Chituka, also strong game, I thought, from him. Was willing carrier, willing defender, high work rate. And same thing here, just overpowering, this time going more infield and then just playing off the fringes.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought Damien de Allende was in here when he did the little dummy and go, and then Vince just dots it down. But I think it's all where you win that ball. You would, if you're a South African, you want to almost sit back. Middle back's got to be closed. You want to put them in the front and then try and use the touchline as a defender. Once, Lood started manipulating the line, you get back ball and then you get that punch on top of it where you sort of get over the gain line. It's super hard to recover as a defensive side.
A strong game from him. First of two that he scored. And what I like is it's quite dynamic. So many times we go from slow to slow to slow and not being able to generate the quick ball. I mean, argument to be made that he's part of the ruck there.
I know, that's the first thing I saw. He was part of that ruck, and then you can't just pick it out the middle of it. But you'll see Sasha strikes this one well.
Exactly, and again, back to the point, when you hit that sweet spot, boom, straight through the middle.
Yeah. And Francie on the ball, so often they'll build it around you as a front or back supporter. Gone are the days where we can swim in behind the jumper. Your body position's got to be low and forward.
Yeah. Like you mentioned earlier, Scala, with that first try, the enforcer is obviously because all the pressure comes from, like the first one, it was a front ball, so we're strengthening the front side. Because all the pressure from the defense is coming in towards the touchline. Yeah. So you want to keep that thing in. Like you see there, back ball, you want to strengthen the inside because that's where all the heat is going to come from. But like you said, beautiful to see a back ball. Yeah. Credit to Lood, having the guts, throw it, confidence Joker, throw it there, we back the call, and then it's just so much easier option to maul from and so much more tougher to defend.
I mean, a quick word on him. You mentioned so great to see him back, Lood. 2 years of, so much adversity for him, the heart condition, it was, it wasn't, I think for him, it kind of put perspective back into life and to what rugby means and playing for the Boks as well. But I mean, he played like he never left, and certainly, he's 2 years older now, but he seems as good as ever. And again, all because we gave him the platform here on the Verdict to express himself, right?
So does this mean France is going to take 2 years off or not?
Well, if we need two, we'll need two, but then we get another 5 after that.
Look, I think we in South Africa, who does not follow the Japanese league, Lood came back after his heart condition and played a full season. I think he got Japanese Dream 15 that season.
Did his shoulder
in the semi or the final, and then he missed the Boks again. So and then he played another almost full season now. I think we in South Africa that does not follow the Japanese league, we think that Lood was out for 2 years. He wasn't. He just was very unlucky. With that.
Well, out of the Springbok fold, I think we've missed it in terms of that. Those that do not know, they show so many of the Japanese league games on SuperSport. So every now and then, especially Sunday, I think Sunday morning, sometimes they show some of the live games, and every now and then I've been able to switch on and see that big
Toshiba reigning champs. I watched the final.
Big guy running around. Yeah, there we go.
For Lood, it's not only he's the best line-out caller, I think, but imagine our lock stocks again. You know, we're back to
That's
having
too good.
having all four that where the original bomb squad came from is Sos, Eben, Etzebeth, obviously Luit, and RG Sneymans back in the fold. And that's not taking account what we've got underneath that. So, no, that's amazing. And also in general play, Luit's got such a lovely feel, good hands, puts his hand up, puts shots on people, also carries like we saw around the corner through the guts.
You talk about general play. Here we go, general play. On 45 minutes, we saw the bomb squad entering the fray, and immediately it was switch on, right?
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Kobus Reinach, you'll see him pop up again, was going to go for a hat-trick coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And he was just tripped up like a meter short every single time.
But this guy, I mean, as a front row, he scores quite a few, France.
He
Jan
runs
Hendrik
around
Wessels.
and he's busy, eh?
Yeah.
Had an awesome season. I saw he was also one of the fortunate ones to be at, what do you call it, Scholar?
Staldon.
I've got Dondraad. John's got Staldon.
Staldon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome to see him perform like that. I think he had a great season for the Bulls, and yeah, quite keen to see him go for the Boks this year.
It's lovely how you offer the line and you come late. You
Yeah.
know, often you show that line to early years, Kobus Reinach. Coming to Cape Town next season, but like he was so close, you'll see him feature, scoring another couple of tries and so dynamic as a youngster. You know, covers hooker. Boks have predominantly employed him as a loose head cover.
Yeah.
But he'll play both this season, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think, you know, again, with yourself out, France, with Kitsi out, with Trevor out, with, you know, maybe even hooker stocks lower than what we normally have. You know, there's certainly an opening there, and he's been able to bring that versatility with both those positions, and every time he got the opportunity, it's been fantastic. We talk about, you know, being able to transition the play that we have. I mean, yeah, you just outside your 22, we're expecting us to kick, right?
You can see with the way the Barbers is up. Dave Ribbon's on the foot, but it's down to Marnie. And the nice thing about having a left footer is you can access the foot by making a pass. Which I think is just as good an exit as when Cheslin wins it back.
100%, and it's what happens after this. So it's not just the kick; it's the opportunity that now comes post that kick when they kick it back. You know, Marnie I thought was really good as well, and this guy Cheslin, I mean, that's just what he does. Omani does so well, but we regather, works inside, and from there opportunity to attack again.
The biggest nightmare as a prop forward is to get Cheslin out there.
Love the option there by Damien.
Beautiful try.
I mean, that's Barbarians rugby at its best.
Unfortunately, the Barbarians couldn't offer. The Boks just, I think it's the worst game for the Barbers because they just got suffocated and everything's a battle and it's line-out contesting through Luit and the drive. But then also when it opened up, like I love the fact where Marnie doesn't just run it to the gain line, puts up a contestable, it actually runs it up, makes the pass, and immediately we're into shape. And we didn't have too many times where we can actually see our shape. But we run that 4 players through the 9, and we can play either odd, whether it's a shoulder ball or play the second last with a swivel or ball out the back. But like we're so good nowadays at accessing any width, whether it's through the foot or through the hands. Space,
just identifying the space and getting the ball into the space. And we actually, the width that we have on our attack and filling the field is just it's just so good. Again, Marnie seems to like this ball. This kick as well, you know, I don't think he missed one.
I think Marnie's traveling with the Rhino. And also what I like about it is so often for me, Marnie gets there and he stands and the shot clock gets in his head. You know,
he went quick.
Walk back, kick it, slot it. I mean, it's you've done it enough in trainings. Don't go freeze. Go walk back and hit it over.
So Kirtley, after his stint in Japan, scoring the try, hunting Cheslin, as Cheslin already scored 1 in the game.
What's his record? Because it's ridiculous.
Kirtley.
Kirtley.
Yeah, isn't he basically on
a try
per game?
Must be.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, the wingers that we have, the players that we have at the moment, it's ridiculous. I mentioned Cheslin and our kicking game, and this is exactly it. We talk about the space, talk about doing what is needed in the moment. This time around, a little bit different, but the end result the same.
for me, it was the Cheslin Colby show in the second half, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got no right to do this. He's up against Talea, or sorry, who's that? Jamine.
Yeah.
The feet. Here's Reinach again. You'll see him. I thought he was in for another one.
Yeah.
Gets tripped up.
Ribbons does well there to get.
Exceptional.
He played well, eh?
Yeah, he did.
He's a good player. Obviously at Toulon at the moment. Before that, not long ago, was starting for England. You know,
Yeah.
so possibly someone in the near future that
Was
can
this
be.
Lourdes try? Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
The two best players on the field actually combining. Yeah, so get Cheslin and Lourdes on the short line.
But I think, Frans, like, you know, as a forward, the ability to, you know, you're in your kicking shape. You know, sometimes you expect, okay, the kick to go, and now you got to chase and get into your defensive line. When something like this happens, you know, he takes it out the air, so many Barbarian players around him. I mean, he should probably have gone outside to his flanker, Estes. Yeah.
Yeah, the nice thing about that for forward is you're already on the front foot.
Yeah.
You can just carry on.
Stay on top
60th
of
minute. You know, tight 5. You're tired by then already. It makes a massive difference to just to stay on the front foot where you lose that first contact, you're on the back foot already.
And conversely, you're Barbarians. The ball's up against your forward. You're trying to put pressure on 9. So you, like, say, Dave Ribbons there. You've got to track back. You lose that contest. All of a sudden, there's a line break. Everyone's running. You turn around. Everyone's running on top of you. So you can't really put a shot on them. And the next moment, you're standing under your own poles after, you know, a kick exit, you know, just outside the 22. So that transition happens so quick. And it's hard. It's the hardest thing. That's what tires you as a defender if you're going back. And it happened the whole second half.
Well, 40 points against them. We knew that the Barbarians won't just lie down. And good to see that they at least got some points on the board.
Ruben van Heerden playing against the box with a carry. There's some nice subtlety in here. There's Dave Ribbons. You can see what Fassi wants to do. Like our idea is to take the space away.
Yeah.
Umaga Jensen. Is it Umaga Jensen who
Yeah.
made the pass? So sort of, he wants to put him under pressure, but there's half flat Jamine runs on it. And the speed of the pass beats Fassi on the outside. There's a reverse angle we'll see. He wants to go up and actually shadow across, so put pressure on the pass. But then Jamine being so flat, it's awesome. And often if you're that defender, you know, you need the communication from the outside that there's pressure on. There's pressure on the pass, and all you have to do is stand still.
Yeah, it's actually Lester Fainga Anuku.
Lester Fainga Anuku.
Straightens up nicely, keeps the defense honest, and then making the pass.
If Fainga Anuku went forward, you know, it's man and ball. But the fact that he actually stands still draws Fassi to him, and then the flatness of the pass is a good finish. And I think they deserve to get a try on the board, to be honest.
Yeah, and you want it for the Barbarians as well, right? You know, I think everything that the Barber stands for, the ethos of it, you want them to get points on the board. It's never good to have a blowout like we see. But then the Boks, another 2 tries after that. So 8 tries scored on the day for the Boks. You know, Vincent Chatuka again this time around taking the line-out ball and eventually ending up with a try.
Hello.
Cheslin bumping Ricky Riccatelli the hooker.
Francis, where does it sit in the front row?
Cheslin taking names in that vacuum after the line-out. You can step me, but it's a bit degrading if it goes over you as a forward.
But is that kind of the mindset as well? And again, the work rate from Vincent was fantastic. Is that kind of the mindset as a forward? When Cheslin runs it, you're expecting the step, right?
Yeah,
100%.
You're expecting the step a little bit on the back foot, you know, just to go either way. And then he goes straight on. And the little pocket rocket, you know, there's quite some muscle in that physique.
Exactly like you said, John. I think you go sit back on your heels because you're expecting each side, and then he just comes straight and stays on his feet, run past you.
Ricky Riccatelli, take that. But like, I think that's the issue, is that he's quite squatting low. And so you want to get low. You don't want to have the headshot like we saw around the other side. You know, they caught Kutley Orange a bit higher with the yellow card. And then he's got, I mean, my mindset would be like, I'm going for him. If he steps me, you're just one of a million people he's stepped in his life. But if you sit down and he runs over you, I think that's the worst result. But lovely how we got over the gain line into that vacuum, you know, the little dip in, wrap round, and we saw our wingers getting involved in the vacuum as an option the whole weekend.
Our slow ball management in the 22 was pretty good on the weekend. Again, your defense probably not as well organized as most international teams, but I thought we were quite dynamic. It was really good. That was the second last try. The last one from Damien de Allende. You know, great also just to see the you know, everyone combining, and nice to finish it off like that. Bit of luck in that one. Outside channel. Absolute workhorse, Damien. You know, you might not make the highlights real a lot of the time, but such good work in the 80 minutes of rugby that Damien gets through.
Yeah, I think there was also like a bit of madness in our like method behind the madness in our team selection. Is like a lot of Japanese players played. You know, we would have had like 3 weeks off, maybe 4 weeks. Some of them we didn't play in playoffs. So for all of them to, you know, get minutes under their belt, the international season starts this coming weekend. I think it was a good move from Rassie, and also some players that you thought, okay, maybe it was a bit underdone during their franchise form, like Ox started, Fassi at fullback, and it's good to see them all in a Bok jersey playing a good bulk of minutes.
Yeah, Dukes and Damien and Lood played 80.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, great start to the international season and a great platform to build on this week against Italy and then also against Georgia after that. Okay, guys, so as for the first game of the year for the Boks, now I don't know if you've seen the show before, France, but the name is The Verdict, right? And there's a reason why the name is The Verdict, because we're going to give our honest verdict on the performance from the Boks, first game of the year. We're going to rate it out of 10 and give me the reasons for that. So I'm going to let you think about that one. Scala, out of 10, wet conditions, Barbarians, rugby, first time together for the Boks.
Yeah, I think it's as good as we could have been. You would look at it and think, okay, there's times where there was unforced errors through, 22 entries, started well, couple of knock-ons, Damien de Allende, nearly on a line break, Sasha, a couple of line breaks by Kurtley, Orense also not holding on to it. But that's understandable. For me, I think, everything we would have worked together on the weekend worked for us. Like, our line-out was exceptional through Lood. Players who's come back from injury, Lood de Jager, players from Japan playing 80 minutes. Then we saw four new players for us, 4 debutants, Vince Chuka scoring a double. Tlabikane doing a panda roll as he jogged out. Wasn't planned, but he did well there to recover.
Manus van der Merwe.
Neetling Fouchier. Glad for Neetling. Obviously, a player who's played a long time with you at the Storm is finally getting a shot. So I think I was super pleased by the performance, scoring 53 points, did we? Against 54. Shutting out the Barbas for large parts. Yeah, I would go 8 from my side.
8 out of 10. France, performance-wise for you?
John, I think an awesome performance. I think if you look at it, first game of the season, there's obviously a lot of nerves involved, especially for the new guys. And you play a team against, like, the Barbas, they don't really have anything to lose.
Yeah.
So if they get 1 or 2 things going for themselves in the beginning of the game, you're on the back foot, it's dangerous. You doubt, like, listen, what's happening? You have to regroup. But I think we did very well for first game of the season. Definitely an 8, like you said. The line-out operated very well. I think the scrum did well. 1 or 2 in contact where we lost the ball. I don't think we forced it that much.
Due to the conditions as well.
We lost it in the wet ball. But yeah, I think a very, very good performance.
For this weekend, and I think I'm happy. I'm happy with the 8 out of 10. I'd agree with that as a starting point, taking into account everything. The conditions, the opposition, the assembling of the team, etc. Taking into consideration Italy this weekend, I think they beat Namibia this week, 74-6, I think it was.
Yeah.
Couple of players missing for them. What do we need to improve on? What is a big area where we need to get better for this weekend?
Well, I think the intensity will be a bit different, but I thought the Boks intensity from the get-go was exceptional. First scrum penalty, first 22 entry, we scored a try through them all. Test matches have got a different feeling, and there's an extra energy into what Italy will bring. Yes, they've got a few new faces. They've got a decent pack of forwards. I think Loftus for the Boks is the perfect tonic for the first test match because you can play on your pace, your terms, get 22 entries off the back of scrum and break down penalties. You know, like you can put a side away quickly up there. And I think this Italy side is a well-coached side. But I think they rely heavily on certain players.
Yeah.
Brex, Minicello, Fly Half, some big names up front. Most of them's made the trip, Negri, Lamaro. But I think the Boks will have too much power. I don't know what our setup will be. Do we have the new 5-3 with Andre Esterhuizen covering as a 6-2? By the way, like, can we get him some 6 studs? You know, can go away from the blades, get him some 6 studs. His toes must be hurting with all that line-out more stuff.
He was telling me after the game, his legs are so tired.
Are done.
Because, you know, you can train it, but you're just not used to, you know, all those mauling, and all of that.
And the most thing, in that 22 defensive set, like it's the first of all, you go around the corner and someone's picking going at you and you have a wrestling and you're getting up and you're wrestling again to the next one. On attack, though, he was sitting at normal space.
France, we were speaking to Sam Cane afterwards, and again, just to Sam Cane, Piro Mahani, Kian Healy, Kamishat, you know, fantastic careers. Well done to you guys for what you gave to rugby. And he was saying, Sam Cane was saying, you know, you walk off the field and you kind of think, yeah, you know, maybe I've got one or two more in me. And then he says, you know, and then you get that feeling of, no, I've been stopping malls for 20 minutes straight now. I don't want that feeling ever again.
Take me off,
but that was pretty cool. A quick one on our junior Boks. They played Australia yesterday. We played Rugby Championship under 20s. They lost by 2 points to Australia. Yesterday they beat them 74-17.
How many tries did we score? Like 11 or so, more.
Big performance. Amazing. Big performance. That hopefully our under 20s can go from strength to strength. I think England up next, which is always a big one, you know, at that level. Quick word on the Lions. Exact similar score to the Bok victory, 54 points to 7, beating the Western Force. France, were you able to see a bit of that? Or not?
Yeah, I did. Who's next? The Reds, Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Waratahs. I think the Lions looking good, man.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'll pick. Awesome depth in that squad as well. Brilliant players. They're looking very good.
I think the big thing, the previous time we saw them is like they played like this during, you know, the normal fixtures and test matches. They played a different style. They tightened up. I think they're pretty much set on the way they want to play.
Which is exciting.
It's exciting. If you play that style of rugby with their centres, and then I think you've got to have Finn Russell at number 10. He's your playmaker. And for me, you know, a lot for the Aussies hangs on certain personnel. If they've got Angus Bell and they got Tupou, you know that they can't get bullied up front.
Yeah.
And you go back, you've got Will Skelton, who's a big ball carrier. You know, like you think that, you know, they're going to be harder to put away. If you ask me a year out,
Harry Wilson,
Rob Valentini was exceptional against the Northern Hemisphere teams last year in end of the year tour. I think it's going to be closer than all of us think.
Yeah.
But this Lions side obviously has got way more depth than the Australian rugby.
And it's what we want. We want it to be competitive. We want it to be tough, you know, up until the last test match, hopefully. Couple of players that stood out. You know, I was quite excited to see. I think that Finn Russell, Sione Tuipulotu, Gary Ringrose, Axis worked really well, and that might just be what we see during the test match as well. Bundy Aki would obviously have something to say about that. So would Hugh Jones. But players that stood out.
I think the biggest question mark for me will be about their loose forwards. What's their setup? You know, like Kalen Doris was shoo-in to be captain.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not there anymore. So 8, you've got to...
Who do you go with?
Who you go with, you know? Okay, or do you go for someone younger to start, like a Henry Pollock?
Yeah.
Or do you think, you know, test match rugby is too big for him just yet, put him on the bench?
I know how well he's been doing.
How well he's been doing. Tom Curry is another one. Jack Morgan was quite impressive in the first game against Argentina on the ground. But I think, you know, if you play any of these big test matches, for me, loose forward balance is key. And then you need a blind-side flanker that's going to put his hand up, come around the corner. Think of us as Pieter-Steph du Toit, the value he adds, or like a Vince Chuka on the weekend. You know, they've got to find that balance.
The Lions tour only happens every 4 years. South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia in the mix at the moment. You spoke quite highly about Argentinian players. Is it time to introduce Argentina as another nation to participate against the Lions?
Look, well, the Lions' first warm-up game in Dublin, they lost to the RGs.
Yeah.
I think it's looking very,
Big statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very sharp and very dangerous. So, as you said, that's a big statement. I think definitely have to look into that.
Or
I
does
don't
that?
know about the
Yeah, like-
tradition. That's the one thing for me in rugby. You have on one side, you have the tradition.
Traditional, and then you got to
You
move
don't
it
want
forward.
to, you don't want to be, dynamic change how it works now. Where do you marry those two?
Or does that become an annual fixture? Well, not annual fixture. A fixture every 4 years.
Yeah.
You start the tour with the
I,
Argentina
I
game.
think maybe that's
That's
it.
awesome.
Because you think you've got it. The line's not only about the test matches; it's about the tour,
Everything that goes.
and it's playing
And you started off with
all the
Argentina.
franchises. And if you go to Argentina now, like your midweek game is you're gonna run
There's
out of
none. Yeah.
opposition to
Yeah.
play against. Unless it's like you play in Europe, but which will defeat the object. So I think there's some challenges, but I think for Argentina to have that fixture to warm up the Lions, I think it's good for the Lions because it really puts test match intensity to them, and I think maybe it's to the benefit of them. If you think if they go play the Force, play the Reds, play the Waratahs, maybe they score 50 points every weekend. I'm not saying they are going to do that, but then you come into a test match
Totally different.
where you've got scoreboard pressure, you're trailing half time. They've already experienced that by the Argentina game. So you learn from those mistakes, doesn't matter how old you are as a team.
Yeah, I think it won't make sense to bring them in every 4 years. Well, every 20 years, then you'll see a tour in a certain country. But if you do include them by making them the first fixture every 4 years, it does provide a very interesting
It's a great game to watch too.
element to it. Yeah, and you do that in the UK, or in Ireland, as we saw this weekend. Predictions for this weekend? What can we expect? So maybe your views on one more thing. Rusty mentioned that he'll probably be looking at playing between 45 and 50 players.
Yeah, same
in
as
the
last
next
year.
3 games. Will we see loads of changes this weekend? Will we see guys that played on the weekend feature again? Or is it just getting the mix right? Does anyone know what's going on in Rusty's head besides us?
John, we've burnt our fingers so many times. Changes, there's going to be plenty.
Yeah.
I think it's about balancing your squad. Also, we're in that critical phase before World Cup where some older players might drop off and you'll have to develop a new player. So I think the Boks will win comfortably this weekend. I think Loftus is the perfect tonic for us. We go well there traditionally against Northern Hemisphere sides. So, yeah, I think the Boks very comfortable and wholesale changes, to be honest.
I think there'll be a lot of similar guys. I think obviously there will be changes, but if you look, it's a very strong team, eh? Obviously guys not playing who played the previous week, club rugby still. So yeah, they will obviously, but geez, that's just a testament to our depth again.
And it's introducing those guys. I think Andre Pollard, Ergia, who played in the finals of their respective competitions. Peter Steph du Toit coming back from injury. Thomas du Toit,
Bulls guys.
Damien Willemse, Ergia Snyman. The list goes on. So the changes. Peter Steph is still there. Maybe Jasper Visser comes back. Sia Kolisi will be back. So the problem with the squad at the moment is, I think, in this next 3 weeks, is how do you replicate the intensity that the Rugby Championship's gonna bring you? Because you can get away with a subpar performance, I believe, in South Africa and get a result against all 3 of these. Then all of a sudden you go Australia twice, which is imperative for our run because we know that Argentina is coming here, but then the big 2 is Eden Park and Wellington.
But Australia won't be undercooked after a Lions series. So.
And if Australia goes well in the Lions, say they get a result in this Lions Test series, often that spurs you on to be pretty much well set up. We've experienced it before.
Confident.
So, the intensity can ramp up quite quickly. So how do you replicate that in the next 3 weeks?
Frans, thanks for joining us. We'll definitely get you back in, and all the very best with your Pilates.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
We're sending Mike, our videographer, with you just to take a few videos. We've had Tlabekane do the panda roll. We're going to have you on the reformer.
I'm going to lock him outside.
You do it in a onesie?
No. I'll do it in a full tracksuit.
No, all the best. Great to have you on the show.
Cheers, thanks, John.
We'll definitely get you back, and good luck with the recovery. Hope
thanks,
you
man.
get back soon.
Appreciate it.
Scala,
I'll see you this whole week, John.
lekker. Thank you all for joining in another episode of The Verdict. Tomorrow night, not tomorrow night, yes, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we will be, Skalk and myself will be at Pretoria Country Club with Jacques Fourie doing a live show. So if you want to come join in, maybe if you want to play golf, find out if they still have some 4 balls available. And then I need to get this week right, Scala. On Friday, Skalk will join me again for the second episode of Box Unpacked. We will unpack the whole week. We'll unpack the performance and also look into what's lying ahead against Italy. Our good old friend, Hanyani Shimangi, has decided that one episode is enough for him. So he's gone overseas to Croatia with his family, living his best life. And yes, folks, I know what you are thinking. Skalk drinks beer on a Saturday on a SuperSport production. Shimmy goes to Croatia. And poor me, John, needs to do all the work. See you next time. Cheers.